She only wanted to board her flight. No demands, no trouble. Just a woman traveling like anyone else. But in seconds, everything shifted. A single insult, spoken loud enough for others to hear, cut deeper than she ever imagined. What that airport agent thought was a harmless joke would soon spark a chain of events no one saw coming. Because this woman was not ordinary, and the world would soon find out why. So how does one moment of disrespect turn into a $950 million fallout?
It was supposed to be a simple journey. For Maya Johnson, travel was second nature. As the founder of one of the fastest-growing travel groups in the country, airports had become like second homes to her. She had built a $950 million empire on the belief that people deserved to feel welcome no matter where they came from. And yet, on this morning, Maya wasn't boarding a private jet or walking through VIP lines. She chose to fly like everyone else. No headlines, no spotlight. Just a woman excited to see her team on the other side of the world.
To anyone watching, she looked like any other passenger. Calm, focused, pulling her suitcase with quiet confidence. Her accent carried the rhythm of her roots, something she wore proudly, a reminder of the journey that had taken her from a small community to the global stage.
But beneath that calm surface, the day already carried weight. She was on her way to finalize a deal that would open doors for thousands of travelers, a partnership that promised to change the way people saw the world. Everything about her morning seemed ordinary, yet in just a few minutes, a single encounter would expose how fragile ordinary can be when prejudice steps in.
She didn't know it yet, but the way she was about to be treated at this airport would not only test her strength, it would shake the foundations of an entire industry.
The line at the security checkpoint moved slowly, travelers shifting their weight, juggling bags, checking their phones. Maya waited patiently, her passport in hand, her boarding pass tucked neatly inside. She had done this countless times before. But as she stepped forward, the officer's eyes lingered on her longer than usual. A brief pause, too brief to mean anything, but just long enough to feel intentional.
When she greeted him, her voice carried the melody of her heritage, a warm accent shaped by years abroad but rooted in her childhood home. That was the moment it began. His smile curled, not in welcome, but in mockery. "Say that again?" he asked, loud enough for others in line to hear. A few passengers turned their heads. Confused, Maya repeated herself, polite but firm. The officer chuckled, mimicking her pronunciation, dragging out her words with exaggerated tones.
Yet beyond the headlines and the boardrooms, the deeper truth remained. Maya's story was not unique. Every day, in airports, offices, schools, and streets, people faced the same quiet humiliations, the same dismissals, the same reminder that the color of their skin or the sound of their voice can make them a target. What made her story different was not what she endured, but the power she had to answer back. Still, she kept her composure. She slid her documents forward, steady hands masking the storm building inside her. But he wasn't done. He leaned back, muttering just loud enough, "Maybe learn proper English before you travel." The words cut sharper than any blade. Behind her, the line grew restless. Eyes darted between them, some sympathetic, most silent, as if silence absolved them from choosing a side. Maya inhaled slowly. Every part of her wanted to respond, to correct him, to defend herself. But she knew one wrong word could turn the insult into a confrontation, and confrontations in airports never ended well. Her mind raced. Did she let it go, swallow the disrespect and move forward? Or did she stand her ground and risk the chaos that might follow? The officer's smirk made the choice harder. He waved the next passenger forward before finishing with her, as if dismissing Maya wasn't even worth his time. The humiliation was complete, or so he thought, because what he didn't know was that this woman he tried to belittle held power he could never imagine. Power not just in wealth, but in influence, in the countless partnerships and businesses that trusted her judgment. The moment he mocked her accent, he mocked every traveler she represented, and Maya wasn't the type to let an insult fade quietly. She walked past the checkpoint, outwardly calm, but inside, the decision had already been made. His words would not disappear into the air. They would echo, and by the time they reached the right ears, the fallout would be impossible to ignore. This was no longer about an accent. It was about dignity, about the cost of silence, about to become a lesson the world would not forget. The humiliation could have ended at the checkpoint, but it didn't. Hours later, as Maya's team arrived at their destination, the story had already begun spreading. A bystander's phone had caught the entire exchange, the mocking, the laughter, the cruel smirk of the agent who thought no one would care. Within minutes of being uploaded, the video started moving across timelines, fueled by outrage.
The decision was swift and devastating. Contracts worth nearly $1 billion would be pulled overnight. Airlines, hotels, and airports tied to her group's network would feel the loss instantly. Back at the airport where it all began, the officer had no idea what was unfolding. He had mocked her for a moment, thinking it would disappear into the noise of a busy day, but that single act of disrespect was now unraveling into something much larger. A public reckoning that would stain his career and force an entire system to confront its prejudice.
The balance of power had shifted. What began as an insult had transformed into a movement. And as the story caught fire across the globe, Maya's voice was no longer just her own. It was the voice of millions demanding change. Because sometimes the smallest cruelty can spark the loudest revolution. The fallout was immediate. News outlets picked up the video, hashtags exploded, and what started as one woman's humiliation became a story the world could not ignore. Maya's decision to pull her company's contracts sent shockwaves through the travel industry. Airlines scrambled, executives issued statements, and that single airport was suddenly at the center of an international reckoning.
For Maya, it wasn't about revenge. It was about dignity. She knew no amount of money could erase the sting of those words, but she also knew silence had a cost. And this time, she refused to pay it. By standing firm, she showed that disrespect has consequences, and that prejudice, even in its smallest forms, can topple empires when exposed to the light.
Yet beyond the headlines and the boardrooms, the deeper truth remained. Maya's story was not unique. Every day, in airports, offices, schools, and streets, people face the same quiet humiliations, the same dismissals, the same reminder that the color of their skin or the sound of their voice can make them a target. What made her story different was not what she endured, but the power she had to answer back.
And that's what lingers long after the news cycle fades. Because this story isn't just about Maya. It's about all of us. About the world we allow to exist when we stay silent, and the change we can ignite when we refuse to.
So the question remains, how many more moments like this will it take? How many more lives diminished? How many more voices mocked before dignity is no longer conditional? The answer depends on what we do next.